Gonio Fortress. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Georgia. We are back in Batumi. Well, actually, not quite in Batumi. We are in Gonio, which is a town just south of Batumi. And here, we are here to see the Gonio Fortress. Famous Gonio Fortress. This is a super old fortress that dates back actually I think all the way back to Roman times. And it's right here in Gonio, just like a very short hop south of Batumi. And since we still have our rental car from our trip that we took to Kutaisi, I figured we should use it and drive down here and check out Gonio Fortress. So, come along. Thanks for clicking on the video. If you want to help out the channel and help it grow, I really would appreciate it. Click on the like button down there, the subscribe button, and the little bell next to it to be notified for when new videos drop. It really helps the channel grow because it's going to help the YouTube algorithm recognize this content and spread it to other YouTube viewers. If you'd like to support the channel monetarily, I would appreciate that as well. You can leave a super thanks by clicking this thanks button here and give a small donation to the channel. I appreciate your support. So back to the video. Enjoy. The Gonio Fortress is first mentioned in Roman history, in texts, back in the 1st or 2nd century AD, so almost 2,000 years ago. And it was a fortified city within Colchis. As we mentioned in the video that we made, our first video from Kutaisi, this area was called Colchis, sort of the ancestral Kartvelian speaking lands of Georgia. And there was a Roman fortified city right here. And it's been here, of course, almost 2,000 years. So it's been ruled by many different empires. After the Romans, the Byzantine Empire. After the Byzantine Empire, the Ottoman Empire. Then the Russian Empire. So it's been here for a long time. It's been ruled by many different empires. And actually, one of the things that is said about this fortress, as we wait to try and cross the road here, one of the things that is said about this fortress is that the grave of Saint Matthias, one of the 12 apostles, is here inside this fortress. It can't really be verified. The grave site, it is illegal by order of the Georgian government. It is illegal to dig around that grave site. So I guess we may never know, but it is one of the things that is said about Gonio Fortress, that St. Matthias, one of the apostles, is buried inside. Anyway, let's get ourselves across this road here. Try not to get run over, and we'll head in. I think we have to pay to get in. I don't know exactly how much, but we're going to find out, and we're going to check this place out. Before we head in, right out in front, two statues. One of a Roman Emperor Hadrian. There he is right there, famous Roman Emperor Hadrian. And also, over here, Absirtus. Absirtus. Absirtus, Prince of Aea Colchis. There he is. A Prince of Colchis. Right here in statue. Anyway, looks like the place is open. Open from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. So we can head in and see how much it costs to get in. Alright, so we are in. It cost 10 lari to get in, which is about $4 or so. A little less than $4. And actually, on this sign that they have right in the front, it looks like this may be older than we thought. The latest data point to the rise of the first settlements here, 8th and 7th centuries BC. So it's possible that this is older than we thought. Like I said, it was only in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD that it was first mentioned in Roman history texts. But one thing that I've learned about Roman history is you always have to kind of take Roman history with a grain of salt. And that's basically because, like, usually the things that were being written about by famous Roman historians like Pliny, the things that were being written about were things that happened usually like centuries before. And the other thing is that Roman historians were completely biased. They did not deny being biased. In fact, most Roman historians were sponsored by wealthy patrons to write histories of their families, the sponsors' families, and the heroic acts that they did in war and things like that. So a lot of the times, Roman history is not, I don't know, it's not that it's not accurate. It's just that you have to kind of, I don't know, you have to kind of question everything when you're reading Roman history. But you can see, pretty extensive, all the way back there to the back wall, and out there from where we came in. This would have been a fortified, like, Roman town. Some older ruins here. Or some ruins of the, I guess, the buildings that would have been inside, that have been excavated here. And of course, there's probably a lot of stuff, honestly, that's buried underground after the thousands and thousands of years of sediment and storms and all kinds of just, wind bringing dust in that eventually piles up, becomes dirt, soil. You end up with stuff buried underground and has to be excavated. Now, there are 18 towers on the outer walls. That's what the sign said at the front. So there used to be 22 towers. So I guess at some point this was more built up. Some of the towers may have collapsed. We can walk around here, I think. Let's see. I don't want to walk across the grass. I don't see anybody else walking across the grass, really. Well, I see some people doing it. I just don't want to. I don't want to walk somewhere where we're not supposed to walk. But I do want to kind of see closer to these ruins here. Very, very cool. Now, our trip we've been doing here in Tbilisi and in Batumi here in Georgia, we've been seeing things that are significantly older than the things that we saw when we were in Latin America. This trip has been a long trip. We've been traveling full time since like November 2023, so more than a year. And I've seen a lot of ancient ruins like this in Latin America, but those ruins are usually from, like, I don't know, at the oldest, like 5 or 6 centuries AD. And we're seeing things here, of course, in like Georgia. So much, some of the civilizations here much older, and some of the ruins much older. That these could have actually been from back in the 7th or 8th century BC. It's pretty wild. Of course, because we're in Georgia, there's a couple of dogs hanging out, chilling in the shade on a hot day. It's starting to get hotter around here. When we arrived in Tbilisi over a month ago, it was very, very pleasant weather. And now it's starting to become summer. It's starting to get warmer. Of course, you guys watching this, it's probably already summer, as this was filmed, before, about a month, maybe a month and a half before it was released on YouTube. So you guys are seeing this later, but I will tell you, it is starting to get warm here in Georgia. Some very cool, like, old, what are these? Like ballista? Catapults? Very cool. Now, those, I think, are probably not, like, preserved They're probably recreations, just because like they're made out of wood, and stuff that's made out of wood usually does not last for 2,000 years. The stone stuff, that'll last. That will last for 2,000 years, but wooden stuff usually tends to rot. But still, it's cool to see. It's cool to see even recreations of some of the cool, like older weaponry they would have used. These ballista right here, this one and this one over here. Basically like giant crossbows that would launch huge, massive arrows. Siege warfare. Because when you have a fortress like this, and you imagine, the entire wall lined with soldiers, archers, and soldiers defending all the like parapets. You can try and knock down the walls, and to do that, you can shoot big giant arrows at them, ballista. You can use catapults to lob things over the walls. Well, look at this chariot. It's very cool, honestly. I've studied some of Roman history, not an insane amount. When I was much younger, I actually visited Rome and was able to see like the Roman ruins in the Roman Forum, able to see other Roman ruins in Italy. It's really, really cool. I don't know that I fully appreciated it because I wasn't super into history back then, and it was interesting to see, but it was also not. It's not as interesting as it is today for me. Some Roman pottery, Roman shields, legionnaires' shields, and tents. I guess this is, how the Roman legion would have slept out on the battlefield, in these tents. It's wild. But like I'm saying, definitely much more interested in history now, and at some point on this trip, I'm hoping we'll be able to return maybe to Italy. Who knows? Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but it would be something I would like to do, if possible, to see, I don't know, some of the really cool old ancient stuff in Italy, the ancient land. Anyway, some beautiful, beautiful trees along this path here. I don't know if this cobblestone path here is part of the original ruins. It doesn't really look like it. It kind of looks like it was added later as part of this like recreation, as part of the tourist attraction here. Regardless, it is very cool. It's also very cool to like imagine. Actually, we can go into this tower. Hold on, let's go in here. It's very cool to imagine what this place would have looked like when it was inhabited. All right, because you can see, of course, the towers and the outer wall, but that's really all that's preserved. The outer wall, and then a few excavated ruins that just show the foundations, the outline of like different buildings that would have been in here. But it is cool to imagine, like to look out across the field here, this big fortress, and imagine all the buildings, all these buildings all tightly packed with little narrow streets running in between them, houses, and different, other buildings, businesses, different artisans and craftsmen, just everything that would be in like a fortified town here. And then over the years, over the centuries, over the millennia, as it passed hands from the Romans to the Byzantine Empire and the Ottomans, the Russian Empire. It's very cool. Everything around it has changed so much. But this wall right here, this wall's just been here the whole time. For more than 2,000 years, probably. That's wild. I don't know. I think for history nerds like me, thinking about stuff like that, it's really amazing, you know? You think about like a super fast time lapse of all these, like, everything happening, right? Batumi, which is like right up there, you know, like a few kilometers that way. Batumi going up with these huge skyscrapers that are all over. Or like one of these like Khrushchevska Soviet era apartment blocks, just like going up across the street. And meanwhile, you know, this thing's here. These ruins are here this whole time. Wars are fought, empires rise and fall, and this thing's just here. Super cool. Here inside these towers, the windows that look out, like out into the design is really, really cool. Of course, they're much wider here at the inner opening than they are at the outer opening. There would have been like wooden scaffolding around here so that you could stand. Archers would be able to stand up on top of the scaffolding and be able to aim out the windows. And you can aim, you can get an angle out the window, aiming both left and right, up and down, because it's open at the inside. You can get all these angles where you have blind spots from people that are outside. They wouldn't be able to shoot in as easily because, of course, a tiny little target, the outside window, but the inside window, much bigger. And this tower that sticks out, like that window, is parallel with the wall, but this window's like perpendicular with the wall. So if there were siege ladders like being put up on the wall, you can actually even see, if you look through, you can see the wall outside. So if there were like siege ladders being put up on the wall, you'd be able to climb up on these things and shoot arrows at them. Having the towers that stick out beyond the wall makes it so that any like invading force that's trying to climb over the wall, they can't like hide against the wall on the outside, because these towers are only, you know, there's one right there, there's one right here. There may be, I don't know, like 30 or 40 meters apart. They're not very far apart. So there's nowhere to hide on the outside. And of course they would have this wall with all the good stuff inside, all the stuff they're trying to protect, of course, all the buildings. And on the outside it would just be open ground, so that any enemy would have to like cross a lot of open ground to attempt to approach, and there'd just be nowhere to hide, not even up against the walls once they reached them. Because if there weren't these towers here, once the enemy like reached the walls, they could stay right up against the wall, and from up top you wouldn't be able to like lean down and get an angle to shoot down on them. But with these towers, you don't need it, because from here up in like that window up there, right, you can like shoot down on anyone who's against the wall. And your buddies over in that tower over there are doing the same thing. Very well designed. All right, here looks like there's some serious excavation going on here, and it looks like there's actually the above ground ruin of a building that would have been in here in the interior. So far all we've seen are like below ground things that have been excavated, just the foundations. But looks like there's a ruin over here that's still standing above ground. It's very cool. Yeah, there's some excavation going on here for sure. Bridge you can walk across. And some information here about the archaeological site, the excavation. Including like these clay, I imagine water pipes. Remains of a barracks, the Roman period from the 2nd and 3rd century, discovered at the southern gate. Fine cut stones used in the foundation. There was a wine cellar. The excavation revealed stone bases with quadrangular holes to accommodate timber columns. Yeah, and then the remains of Roman and Byzantine and Ottoman water supply. A sewage system, water and sewage system. That would be, I guess, those clay pipes that they have there. And here is one of the gates. This is the southern gate that mentioned where they found this. Oh, almost stepped in a hole, turned an ankle there. Look at this. Yeah, this is really cool. It's the only structure I could see that's above ground that's still preserved outside of the walls, the outer walls. It's this one right here. I wonder what this was. Maybe it was part of the barracks that they found. It lasted. It stood the test of time. Let's see. Oh, it looks like there is another sign over here. Maybe it'll tell us what we're looking at here. Oh, okay, this was a bathhouse. It looks like. Yeah, the baths. Section 2, okay. Roman type baths. That it had a boiler room, sections for hot water. Very cool. Unfortunately, we can't. I want so badly to just like go over there and climb around in this thing, but we can't do that. We cannot do that. But it is cool. You can see like these baths, basically these pools here with like underground, just like places where water, like passages for water. Very cool. And they had a boiler to make hot water. You could have a hot water bath and a cold water bath. Kind of go for a cold water bath right now. It's pretty hot out here. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of sweating my balls off. Let's see here. This is definitely not part of the original construction, but it is a little shrine of sorts. And I think this here is like, oh, this is like archaeological exhibition. It says it's open. Oh, it's definitely open. They definitely have archaeological stuff in here. Wow. It's also air conditioned, which is nice. Wow. Late Bronze Age, early Iron Age artifacts. This is wild. This is a really cool collection. All of this for 10 Lari for the entrance fee is definitely worth it. Ceramics, wine jugs. Oh, here are those ceramic pipes like we saw outside. Glassware. 6th century AD glassware. They have stuff preserved from going all the way back to like the early centuries AD. Newer stuff here, Ottoman metalwork, 16th to 19th century. It's crazy how many times this site has changed hands between different empires. Come on, Joba. Very cool. Malova. Nakondis. Alright, we head back out. Because that place was so dark, and when I went in, I turned left. I 100% did not even notice that there was a woman sitting there. Like one of the staff, the docents, was just sitting there. I'm walking around talking to myself like I'm an idiot. I turned the last corner, there she is. She's just looking at me. Huh. Come on, Joba. Anyway, that's very cool. This place is cool. I think we've seen what there is to see here. I mean, we've seen the towers, we've seen the walls, we've seen the excavated barracks back there. Saw that archaeology collection of artifacts, which I didn't even know was in here, to be honest. This place would be worth it to see, the 10 lari, to come in and check it out. Even without that, but having that, like all the preserved artifacts and stuff over there, is very, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, this place, definitely worth it. Definitely worth 10 lari to come check it out. It's in Gonio, which, like I mentioned, is just south of Batumi, right along the, basically right along the shore of the Black Sea, on your way to the Turkish border, which is another 10-minute drive from here. But definitely worth it. If you're coming to Batumi, I would say definitely figure out a way to get down here. You definitely don't have to rent a car like me. I'm sure you could take a taxi or a marshutka or something like that. Very easily get down here to Gonio and check this place out. It's definitely cool. It's definitely worth it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is going to be one of the last videos actually that we're making from here in western Georgia, in Batumi, Kutaisi. We visited some cool stuff here, and our time is coming close to an end, so there'll be like probably one or two more videos from here in Batumi or in western Georgia, and then we'll be moving on. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you in the next one.